Hey, Scatigna here. Hopefully you're doing well, surviving this coronavirus pandemic that we're all living through, the nightmare that we're living through. Some good news today. Most Americans have received their stimulus money. Most people had it this morning in their bank account. If you had direct deposit on your income taxes, the government's now saying 80,000, not 80,000, 80 million paper checks will be going in the mail next week, starting next week. It's still not clear how quickly those checks are getting out. So you're going to get your stimulus money, check your bank account, go online. If you don't have it by tomorrow morning, there's a problem. And you want to go to the irs.gov website and track where your stimulus payment is. If you did not, as I said in previous videos, if you did not do direct deposit, go to their website. They'll link you over to another website where you can put your direct deposit information in there and get a check as soon as possible. Now, $1,200 per individual, $2,400 a couple, $500 a child. And my son called me this morning and said his $1,200 was in the bank. My son-in-law called me and said his $3,400 was in his bank account. So money is starting to flow from the government into your bank account. Now this may be just the beginning. It just may be jacks for openers, because today there's a proposal in Congress to extend this program in a way that is astonishing to me, and I don't even know how they're going to pay for it. This is what Democrats in Congress are proposing. Rep. Tim Ryan and Ro Khanna introduced legislation Tuesday that would provide $2,000 a month to each individual that earned less than $130,000. If you remember, it was $75,000, this check that we got now. This is $2,000 to every American adult, 16 and older. We get $2,000 a month if they earn less than $130,000. Married couples earning less than $260,000 would receive $2,000 each, or $4,000. Children, if you have 3 kids, it'd be $500 a child. So you could be looking at a family of 5 with 3 children. You're looking at $5,500 every month. And they're talking about doing this for at least 6 months or until the crisis is over. If you're on unemployment, it doesn't matter. If you're employed, it doesn't matter, as long as you stay within those income limits. Now, if you're not eligible because of income from 2019 and 2018, this was a problem I had with the original stimulus package, was that, well, yeah, I made $120,000 last year, but I lost my job here in 2020. I'm not going to make that limit where I shouldn't get a stimulus check. Well, they're saying here that those who were not eligible because of that, but would be eligible in 2020, could submit at least 2 consecutive months of paychecks for income verification. So now they're going to open it up to that. They're calling this the Emergency Money for the People Act. Now, this is just a proposal right now. Is it going to pass Congress? I have no idea. I haven't heard much about it. My son-in-law called me up all excited, hey, did you hear about this, Pop? Stimulus package. I said, no, I've been busy preparing taxes all day. So he said, yeah, you go look at it. And I went online, and sure enough, there it was, this proposal. I haven't heard anything yet about what the Republicans think about it, or they're going to push up against it. Now, let's do some math here. I mean, if we're talking $2,000 per individual per month, well, just say 300 million people get the $2,000. I think that's $6 trillion a month. There's a lot of zeros there, but I'm pretty sure it's $6 trillion a month. Where's that money coming from? I mean, we're just going to keep going deeper and deeper in debt. We do this for 6 months, we're talking about $36 trillion. We're bankrupting the United States of America. We're going to bankrupt it anyway, probably within the next 10 years, and we're accelerating that process. So, I mean, a lot of people are getting giddy about this. Wow, we're going to be getting all this money. My son, he's home taking care of his daughter. He has to be home for her. She has no school or anything. So he's getting, between state unemployment and the federal $600 addition, he's making $1,300 a week on unemployment. He just got a $1,200 stimulus check, and now he may be getting $2,000 per month in addition to all that. He's making much more now than before the pandemic, and I think that's a critical thing. Why would anybody want to go back to work? when they're getting more money just to stay home and to be protected than going out. So it's we live in crazy times now, absolutely crazy times. In 2 months of how our lives have changed, it's just beyond belief. And we're in the middle of bankrupting the nation. There's no question in my mind we're going to live through a depressionary economy, probably for at least a year, maybe longer. It's an amazing thing, and it's not a U.S. problem; it's a worldwide problem. And how long this is going to last, nobody really seems to know. Other things the government's throwing out there: put the student loan interest rate to 0 on federally student loans. Have allowed borrowers to skip payments, it looks like for 6 months until September 30th. One thing that's not here, that a lot of people were clamoring for, is forgiveness of certain student loans. That's not going to happen. Some people are concerned that their stimulus payment may be garnished. And attorney generals from a number of states have pressured the U.S. Treasury to forego any garnishments of back taxes, student loans that haven't been paid, to get that money into the economy. Also, there's some concern that if you have a judgment against you, that debt collectors are going to try to get that money as soon as it gets in your bank account. So they rushed through this bill, and this is probably one of the things that they should have dealt with, prevent garnishment of this. But it looks like the federal government will not garnish any of these payments for delinquent student loans, which is a good thing. I mean, if they just they give that money and just take it back, well, it's not going to stimulate the economy down the line. So that's the thing here. What's going on? What else is going on? We're starting to see economic news come out that is no surprise to me. Today, retail sales saw a record plunge in March, dropped 8.7% in the month of March from the previous month. We've never seen a drop in sales like that in the history of our country. But if you take out foods and things like that, the necessities that we're forced to buy, and we're buying more of than we ever have, we look at department stores, down almost 20%. Furniture stores, down almost 27%. Sporting goods stores, down 23%. Johnny's not going out for Little League this spring, obviously. But the most was clothing retailers, 50%. And it was just announced that JCPenney is filing for bankruptcy. They were on death's door anyway, and a number of these retailers, these brick and mortar retailers, are in trouble. And there are going to be many bankruptcies in that retail space, and we're going to see it right now. It's JCPenney. I think their stock was trading at 40 cents a share recently, so they've been in trouble for some time. But with all these malls closed, this has been just retail Armageddon for them. And any of the retailers that were on edge, which was a lot of them, are going to see massive bankruptcies. We're going to see empty malls for years to come, and we're starting to see it before this crisis. Now, the Trump administration came out today. They announced that they're going to try to buy milk and meat to help farmers out. Farmers are hurting because they have problems with the supply chain. They have problems with workers. Meat packing companies, Smithville, the largest pork producer, packer, announced they closed one of their big plants because they had over 200 cases of COVID in there. They announced that we're perilously close to the edge of not having supplies for grocers, for pork. And if we see more processing plants closing down due to the illness or lack of trucking and everything else, we're going to start seeing food supply issues, which obviously is the biggest concern for all of us. But the Trump administration plans to buy milk and meat from U.S. farmers as part of an initial $15.5 billion effort to help them weather the impact of the coronavirus outbreak, the Agriculture Secretary said today. And many of these farmers are forced to throw out their supply. I saw a video yesterday of these big tanker trucks of milk just turning on the guzzles and letting them go into the sewer because they can't move it. So what the Agriculture Secretary said today, we want to purchase as much of this milk or the protein products, hams and pork products, and move them into where they can be utilized in our food banks, or possibly even in international humanitarian aid. So that's a good thing. Why not buy up the meat and the milk and bring it to food banks and help the poor? We've seen terrible stories of lines at food banks, miles long, cars trying to get to food banks to get food, and hopefully a combination of stimulus money going into people's pockets, and hopefully with the government's ability to buy milk and pork products and other meat products and get them to food banks will alleviate some of that food issues, the food hunger issues. So very, very scary times. Hunger obviously is the number one thing that we have to worry about, as well as, regular health issues that we're dealing with the virus down the line. Now the government's and the Federal Reserve, where's this money coming from? I mean, there's a price to pay for this. We're starting to see the economy crash. We're starting to see economic numbers come out. But just remember, all this stimulus stuff, it's really for one thing, and that's the banks. Why do you think it's the banks? Well, it's money's going to people. Why is it for the banks? Because if people are getting $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month from the government, they're going to pay their car loan. They're going to pay their mortgages, right? So they're going to pay other debts that they have. The banking system right now is pretty shaky, and there's real concerns about that. Meanwhile, banks have been lining up with the Fed, getting a ton of, part of the $2.2 trillion bailout is going to banks. The Federal Reserve has not put banks under the pressure of stopping dividends. They could pay out dividends to shareholders. They could pay out bonuses to executives while they're at the government trough. Around the world, other central banks have not done that. They precluded banks from paying dividends and paying bonuses or outrageous executive pay from the taxpayer. Our Federal Reserve has not done that. The question is why? And you wonder who the Fed works for. The Fed is owned by and works for the banks. Now, the banks announced this morning, some of them, that they're announcing their earnings are horrible. They've had to put aside $24 billion for expected losses as people default on debt of all kinds. That's a drop in a bucket. They will need multiples of that to cover the defaults that are coming down the line. Probably 10 times or 20 times that. And we'll see how the banks hold up during this period, or we continue to just print money and bail out the banks once again. So if you don't have your stimulus money by tomorrow morning and you think you deserve it, go to the IRS website, try to find out where it is. If you want to put your direct deposit information in because you filed the tax return and you didn't do it then, go to the irs.gov website. And you're going to want to have this done because it looks like these stimulus payments are not a one-time thing. And they'll be happening, maybe, if Congress gets its way, as much as $2,000 an individual per month for at least the next 6 years. Just a reminder, those of you who follow me on the radio, the Financial Physician Radio Show is going back on the air this Sunday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on WOBM AM 1160. You can go to my website, thefinancialphysician.com, where I have a link to that if you want to listen to it live. And as always, I'll upload it to the podcast on thefinancialphysician.com. This is a new YouTube station for us. We're trying to get followers. We have less than 100 so far. So subscribe, share it if you think it's important, and let us know in the comment section what you think about what we're doing here. Be well, take care of yourself, take care of your family. See you next time. I just listened to the video, so I just want to clarify something. At the end, I said that the stimulus money of $2,000 a month looks like it's may pass, and I said we'd be getting it for 6 years if the proposal goes through Congress. Correctly, it would be 6 months or longer, depending on what's going on. So I wanted to make sure I corrected that, so you weren't misled that you'd be getting $2,000 a month for 6 years. I don't think that's going to happen.